Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of the show. And I know you're probably thinking, Mark, what the hell did you do? Did you change the name of the show? Is this a new show? Whatever happened to bad movies? Well, it's still the same show. Honestly, I'm still doing the same thing. It's not really changing. I just kind of changed the title of the show. Some people have asked me what makes a bad movie? And I think that's a really good question to ask, because a lot of these movies that are deemed bad, such as, perfect example, Troll 2, right? From a technical side, okay, yeah, it's pretty bad in many different areas, right? Of acting and writing and directing and whatnot. Yet, I love the movie, not despite those flaws, but because of those flaws. And it provides an incredible amount of entertainment value. So can I really sit there and keep calling this a bad movie? I don't really know. I guess that's why I changed the name of the show. I kind of want to incorporate, different types of films that might not necessarily be bad. They might not be good either, but they're just bizarre and weird and obscure. And as long as there's material there that I can write about, I'm going to write about it. As long as it's funny, I'm going to make a video out of it. And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about a movie that's unlike any other that I've ever done on this show. And that's because The Apple, released in 1980, is a musical. At least it tries to be. Now, this movie was written and directed by Menahem Golan, who made a lot of movies over the course of his career. You've probably heard of a few of them. But when this movie was screened at the Montreal World Film Festival, it received such bad reviews that he apparently thought about killing himself. And he went on to say that he can't be wrong about the movie. There's no way that he's wrong about the movie. It's just that no one really understands what he was trying to do. Which, okay, fine, maybe that's true. However, I'll argue that the audience really only has to go on what they're seeing on the screen. And what's on the screen here is, it's something. It's definitely something, I'll give you that. In fact, I recommend that you watch the movie. This is one of these movies where it's got my seal of approval on this one. Like, to really experience this thing, you gotta watch it. This stuff, of course, it's always subjective, right? It's movies. But there's a reason why so many people hated this movie. There's many reasons why I couldn't stand it. For me, this is like everything that I hate about movies rolled into one. It really is. If you're a fan of this show, you know that I hate when a movie has, a musical sequence or whatever that goes on too long. Well, that's all this is. Aside from the horrible story that is barely there, the story and the characters are really just secondary to the musical numbers. So what's the point of even doing the movie? Just make an album. Because so little happens here in terms of actual story and character development. So it just feels like it's kind of just there to tie the songs together. And the songs suck. I mean, some of them are kind of catchy, but catchy not in a good way. Catchy in the, oh God, I still got that song in my head. I hate this. So The Apple takes place in a futuristic time, 1994 to be exact. The fashion is very different. Vehicles, even instruments and baby strollers are flashy and futuristic, which I find interesting because this movie came out in 1980. So, it takes place 14 years in the future from when it was made. Did people really think that things would be this different in 14 years? I mean, if I try to imagine the world 15 years from now, I'm not imagining some kind of Jetsons lifestyle. I just picture TV screens at a higher resolution and people a little bit more depressed. So anyways, the movie starts at the World Vision Song Festival, 1994, and you'll see this logo everywhere in the movie. This is the BIM logo. BIM stands for Boogaloo International Music, which is the record label that I guess runs the country. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but they control the police, they make the laws, they have their own restaurants and food and beer and pretty much everything. So they put on this performance at the song festival and everyone is cheering out BIM. The whole song is basically saying that BIM's on the way. Whatever that means. I mean, if they control everything, aren't they already here? Anyways, this performance is enough to really set your expectations for the rest of this movie, because this is what you're gonna get. Ridiculous costumes, pretty lame music, and let's just break down these lyrics here. There ain't no good, there ain't no bad, there ain't no happiness, there ain't no tears, there ain't no love, there ain't no hate, there's only power. BIM is the power. I mean, wow. Rodgers and Hammerstein, is that you? And it just kind of goes on like this for a bit until the label executives show up in their Dorito suits. And I guess they found a new way to measure the crowd's excitement level and heart rate somehow.
Excitement 90, tension 92, pulse rate 132, and 138 heartbeats.
I mean, is this an average heart rate of everyone in the audience? How are you monitoring this? Meanwhile, the performance has reached a new level of hilarity as it's starting to resemble something you'd see Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia take part in. So they tell Mr. Boogaloo that they hit 150 heartbeats, and he's all excited that they're going to win the competition.
Gentlemen, I predict our BIM song is going to take this competition by storm.
By the way, sometimes they call him Mr. Boogaloo, sometimes they say Boogaloo, so I don't know. So here comes Alfie and BB, and they start singing this really lame love song, and the crowd just hates it. They start trying to boo them off the stage, and then they all just kind of stop. And according to the heartbeat monitor, I guess they're liking the song now. And since they reach over 150 heartbeats, Mr. Boogaloo decides to sabotage the performance by playing this tape, which sends out this really annoying sound that pisses off the audience. So the crowd starts booing them again, even though it's completely obvious that this sound isn't coming from them. And now the heartbeat monitor starts dropping because, you know, usually when people get riled up like this, it causes a low heart rate. I don't understand the purpose of any of this. Now the government has adopted the stupid BIM song for the National Exercise Program. I guess that's what the heart rate monitor was about. Again, I don't understand this. So the whole purpose of this thing was for the government to find a good exercise song? And you mean to tell me that this song was in line to win before they rigged the competition?
We belong to one another. We share each other's destiny. United by our love, we're all children of the universal family.
And what government? As I said before, it's like BIM is the government. They control everything. They set the laws. You'll see that in a minute. Mr. Boogaloo tells his marketing director to come up with some new merchandise. Something better than BIM t-shirts, because after all, it's 1994. It's the future. And in the future, it's a fashion statement to wear a sticker on your face. And this is one of the many examples that, you know, the movie actually predicted something. They just got the year wrong.
Our marketing genius, Ashley, has invented a beautiful BIM mark. We are all going to wear it from now on, and I shall be the first one. Voila!
Okay, well, clearly you weren't the first. I mean, Ashley put the sticker on his head first, and he's standing right in front of you, but, you know, whatever. Apparently, this is the law now to wear this shit on your face. You have to wear the BIM mark, or else you'll receive a fine from the police.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to give you a ticket.
Why?
Because you're not wearing the BIM mark. You know it's obligatory now. Just go along to your local post office, you buy some, and you'll wear one from now on.
Where do I wear it?
You wear it any way you want.
So here's where they welcome Alfie and BB to the party. And then Dandy decides to go after BB while taking Alfie down a notch.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guests of honor from
Moose jaw.
A moose jaw.
You know, I want to tell you did a great job in that song. Just great.
But the crowd booed us in the end.
No, forget the crowd. They're just not into that kind of crap anymore.
Crap?
Uh-huh.
Well, Alfie wrote it.
Well, there you go.
Champagne, young man.
Sorry, I don't drink alcohol.
Did you hear that? But this is remarkable. Our young star from
Moose jaw.
Moose Jaw does not drink alcohol.
Yes, let's laugh at their hometown and then insult their music and then laugh again when they choose not to drink alcohol. That should make them feel really comfortable. And by the way, they are not from Moose Jaw. At least this guy isn't. Not with that accent.
Mr. Boogaloo, did you say 5 o'clock? That's in 20 minutes.
So Dandy takes BB upstairs and just get a load of this.
Here, try one of these.
What are they?
Just little pills. They won't harm you.
Oh wow, my favorite! Little pills that won't harm me. How did you know? Could you imagine going to a party where everybody was dressed up like this and wearing stickers on their faces? And then someone who you literally just met was like, here, try these. They're just little pills. They won't harm you. Oh, okay. Sure. I mean, if you say so, creepy stranger who just led me to a dark, isolated part of the room. No need to inquire about what these pills will do to me. You seem like an honest person. So they just begin making out, and everyone starts pointing and laughing. Like, what are you people, 12? And now another song starts up where he tells her that she's made for him.
You're made for me, created for me, and I am your man. You're made for me, it's fated to be, and you'll be my woman.
By the way, rhyming man with woman. I mean, most musicians can only hope to be that clever. Also, I think it's hilarious that they're driving around in the car that Homer Simpson designed. So the two of them have an appointment with Mr. Boogaloo, and again, even though they got the decade wrong, the movie pretty much predicted what an America's Got Talent audition waiting room would look like. I'm gonna be brutally honest here, as I usually am. I actually think it would be more entertaining to watch this movie on mute and try to figure out what's going on. Like, just fill in your own lyrics and dialogue. Because I pretty much guarantee you, whatever you come up with in your head is gonna be more imaginative than what's actually happening here. It's kind of a case of style over substance, and it's kind of sad really because there's so much going on the surface. You've got all these costumes and lights and choreography and dancers and sets. And I mean, with any movie, there's a lot of people involved behind the scenes, but with this, you've got a lot of people and stuff going on in front of the camera as well, but the content is just so mundane and confusing, quite frankly. The next scene is where Mr. Boogaloo tries to get them to sign a record contract. BB signs her contract, but Alfie doesn't want to. Then there's some sort of an earthquake, but then it turns out that there wasn't really an earthquake, and it was all in Alfie's head, I guess. So we have this whole Adam and Eve sequence. Mr. Boogaloo's the devil. This guy's the snake. I guess the apple represents the contract. And like I was saying, just look at this. There's so much going on here from a production standpoint, but content-wise, it's almost like a bunch of people all had different ideas and they just smashed them together. When I first watched this, all I remember is sitting there thinking, I have no idea what's going on right now, but I'm very uncomfortable. So Alfie refuses to sign the contract, and why do the security guards have fangs? Then we have this reggae song about Mr. Boogaloo being a master. And you know what I'm gonna say here. It's brutal, you know. I have to apologize because I know this is getting repetitive at this point. And you know what? Who knows? Maybe you'll go out and watch this movie, and maybe you'll love it. Maybe this is the musical you've been looking for your whole life.
Push and shove and claw.
Step on those who fall.
It takes no time at all.
When you know how to be a master.
He knows how to be a master.
Anyways, BB is a huge star now and begins a concert tour. This is where we get the song about meth. Also, I want to note, I'm not really skipping through anything here. There's about 45 seconds total of dialogue between the songs. So this is the song about how America loves methamphetamines. Seriously, it's called Speed, and it's clearly about the drug, which, is honestly probably my favorite part of the movie, because I think it's actually a really good piece of satire.
America, the land of the free, is shooting up with pure energy, and every day she has to take more speed. America, the home of the brave, is popping pills to keep up the pace.
Meanwhile, Alfie is really sad about losing BB, so he writes a song about it, but no one really gives a shit. And to make matters worse, he gets busted for not wearing a BIM sticker on his face. And on top of that, it's the National BIM Hour, which means that for an hour every day, you have to drop what you're doing and exercise to the BIM song. And it just keeps going on like that, over and over and over again. But everybody is into it, like really into it, which is hilarious, because could you imagine moving there and just seeing every day for an hour, everybody doing this? Like not just the music, but the dedication to the choreography. Every day for an hour, I would go insane. I think anybody would. Imagine the whole country just turning into a flash mob every day at 4 o'clock. It's like something out of the Twilight Zone. The good Twilight Zone. At this point, Alfie decides he's going to save BB from the record label. So he goes to this BIM party where Pandy gives him a special drink. So he drinks it, but starts feeling weird. So he does the most logical thing, which is to keep drinking it until he's so drugged that he can't even see straight. What is the logic there? Oh man, I've had a few sips of this drink and I'm really not feeling well. Feeling kind of funny, Not drunk, more like drugged and I'm gonna pass out. Well, I might as well finish the rest of it. Hope it makes me feel better at some point. This is where we get a disco song about having an orgasm when Pandy takes full advantage of the situation.
Make it harder and harder and faster and faster. And when you think you can't keep it up, I'll take you deeper and deeper and tighter and tighter and drain every drop of your love.
And that's about enough of that. Like, God damn it, no wonder disco died, Jesus Christ. Now, even though the song is called Coming and the lyrics are pretty descriptive, they really wanted to leave no doubt in the audience's mind about what's actually going on here, which is why we have this interpretive dance sequence, which is something that I really could have gone the rest of my life without. It's actually fascinating that they tried to choreograph something that represents sexual intercourse. It is completely devoid of anything remotely close to enticing or arousing. Not only am I completely bored, I have never been softer in my entire life. So Alfie leaves and bursts into a room where he finds BB in bed with Dandy. Anyways, he's suddenly woken up on a park bench by some sort of hippie Gandalf who takes him to a giant gathering of hippies that he refers to as refugees from the 60s. And then the police show up, so all of the hippies have to retreat back to their home, living in a cave under a bridge. So Alfie is like, well, I guess I might as well join them. I mean, what other choice does he have? I've always been a big fan of movies and stories that take place in a dystopian future. Book of Eli, The Road, Children of Men, But honestly, none of those paint a picture of a dystopian future quite as well as this. I mean, here you gotta wear a sticker on your face and participate in an hour of choreographed dance every day. Or you can live in a cave under a bridge with a bunch of hippies. Pick your poison, people. This isn't the happy-go-lucky 1980s anymore. This is 1994. Shit got real. However, you're still going to end up having sex and doing drugs no matter which one you choose, so I guess it's not all bad. So then BB is like, screw this, I'm gonna find Alfie. And then she runs into Gandalf too, who takes her to the cave where she's reunited with Alfie and all is well. Now the hippies are outside again when suddenly the police show up with Mr. Boogaloo and demand to see BB because apparently she owes the record label $10 million. No real explanation as to why, she just does. And then BB and Alfie pop their heads out and what the hell, they have a kid? Apparently, this is over a year into the future. There was literally nothing to show us that kind of passage of time at any point. It was a straight cut from them in the cave to them sitting outside. But whatever, the police suddenly announce that everyone is just under arrest for some reason. I guess it must be a heinous crime of standing in a public park without a sticker on your face. But here's where things get good, when God shows up in a Rolls Royce that flies out of the sky. I mean, in any other movie, I would have thought this was kind of weird, but here, not a lot has made sense so far, so I was just glad the movie was ending. He calls himself Mr. Tops, but it's clearly meant to be God. And I guess this is like the rapture or something, because he takes Alfie and BB and all the hippies up to heaven with him. And for some reason, Pandy gets to go to heaven with them, which I don't get. I mean, she flat out pulled a Bill Cosby on Alfie. Why the hell does she get to go?
I'm looking for a new place.
A new planet?
If I can find one free from your pollution.
See, that's what the whole movie was getting at. Record labels are evil and they're ruining the whole world.
Don't tell me you're going to start all over again.
Yes. But this time without you.
God's new planet will be free from stickers and forced exercise and musical competition shows. It doesn't sound so bad, actually. Like I said at the beginning, Menahem Golan stated that he felt like people didn't understand what he was trying to do. But check out this quote. Menahem was very passionate about what he was doing. He had very lofty ideas about the project. He thought this was going to break him into the American film industry. It had, you know, all the elements that he thought were necessary at that time. It was the early 80s and there were a lot of musicals, and Menahem thought that this was his ticket into the American film industry. And I think that's very telling. I would guess that when he saw the cult following that, you know, movies like Rocky Horror Picture Show and Grease developed, and how successful those movies were, he tried to replicate that with this. Now, apparently there's a lot of things that happened during the production of this movie. You know, the people that had originally come up with the story, there was a conflict between them and the director, and quite frankly, none of that comes as a surprise. So if you're interested at all, I would actually really recommend watching this movie to get the full experience, because this is one of those cases where, you know, I can kind of summarize it and, you know, pick out points and talk about them, but to get the full experience, you really got to sit down and watch this, because so much of it is the music and the, you know, the sets and the dancing and whatnot. So yeah, I would actually recommend watching it. And of course, as usual, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.